been hearing very disturbing stories. It sounded like Capriati was running with a rough crowd and, you know, doing stuff that couldn't be any good for her. And I called her agent, Barbara Perry, and I said, look, you know, are you aware of this? And Barbara said, no, I'm not. And she said, well, I'll call you back. And she called me back and said, well, I talked to Denise Capriati. And she said she doesn't know anything about it.
What would make a tennis star worth over $1 million walk off with a $35 ring? Jennifer Capriati is accused of doing just that at a Tampa mall.
On December 9th, 1993, 17-year-old Jennifer Capriati was cited for shoplifting.
She says that it was an accident, and basically it became worldwide news, this kind of really minor incident. That was the first really public incident where people started saying, you know, what's going on in this kid's life?
In January of 1994, Capriati announced that she was leaving the women's tour to finish high school.
I kept touch with her during that period of time, and there's certain things that we didn't talk about, and one of them was talking about tennis. We didn't talk too much about when she was going to come back or if she was going to come back.
In February, Capriati quietly checked into the Manors, a drug rehabilitation center on Florida's Gulf Coast. Around the time of her 18th birthday in March, she elected to move in with friends at Florida Atlantic University on the other side of the state.
When I ran into her at Florida Atlantic, she just seemed like a mixed-up kid. Tennis was the last thing on her mind. People around her, these friends that she had made. She loved the fact that they didn't know who she was. I think that's why she liked making these kind of overnight friends. They just saw her, you know, hey, this is Jen.
On May 15th, 1994, Capriati checked into room 109 of a motel in Coral Gables, located just south of Miami.
It was prom night at Coral Gables High School, and she had some friends from the high school and a couple of dropouts from the high school who knew her in her social circle at that time. So I think what they decided to do was have sort of an anti-prom night, and they got a room, they put it on her credit card.
One of the kids was named Mark Black, who did not even know who she was when he first met her, which is exactly the way that Capriati liked it, because her whole purpose was trying to develop a group of friends who would allow her to have a normal teenage life.
Basically, it was a 36-hour party. You know, she funded a lot of it because she had the Visa card, and it was like a $50 a night hotel room that they just rented, and it was easy access to drugs because it was in an area where drugs were accessible.
After the first night of partying on Saturday night, Mark Black and Jennifer decided to rent the room for another night.
Capriati's lost weekend spiraled into Monday morning.
Acting on a tip, the police showed up and knocked on the door of Capriati's hotel room, and she allowed them to search it.
At 14 years old, Jennifer Capriati was America's rising superstar. But 4 years later, Capriati's life appears to have changed dramatically.
Capriati was arrested and charged with possession of marijuana, a misdemeanor, while two of her companions faced more serious legal consequences relating to crack cocaine and heroin. Mark Black, meanwhile, was not arrested. If the extent of Capriati's weekend remains obscure, at least one thing is clear. America's sweetheart was now little girl lost.
When you think of that mugshot from when she was arrested, she looks like this lost soul. It surprised America, you know, who had been reading about this kid since she's been 13, that, you know, God, what has she become?
I don't think people just saw Jennifer Capriati. I think they saw their own daughters. I think they saw their own sons, and it was horrifying to them.
On May 18, 1994, Jennifer Capriati, as part of an agreement with the Florida State Attorney's Office, entered a drug counseling program in Miami Beach. As people searched for answers to Capriati's fall, she left only questions.
I did a piece for NBC asking Jennifer, would you please say something about it? If you made a mistake, we'll accept that. I felt it might be a catharsis of some sort, but everybody was very quiet about it, and I guess ashamed, embarrassed, but they didn't handle it very well.
To this day, we don't know what exactly happened in that hotel room. There were so many conflicting reports. Was she shooting heroin? Was she smoking marijuana? Do we know exactly what she was doing? No, and until Jennifer tells us, we're never going to know.